I've always had the belief that anyone who dedicates themselves 100% can make a living as a music producer. But do I only believe that because it worked out for me? Why are there so many talented producers who are unable to make producing music their full-time job? I wanted to put my beliefs to the test, so I found a talented, hardworking producer named Kroniak who was struggling to make a living. I wanted to see if within 1 year we could turn him into a full-time producer. First thing we needed to do is to get him to a point where he could dedicate all of his time to producing music. So our initial goal was $2,500 a month for music production. Before we met and started working together, where were you at in your producer journey and what was your outlook like?
I feel like I was at a good level musically. It just wasn't producing any revenue really, or if it wasn't a steady stream from one place. It was like, I got this thing working with this artist, I'm gonna mix for this person, and none of it was connected and none of it was a constant thing, and none of those things popped off either.
Did it feel like you kind of were on a hamster wheel?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I was struggling just to stay on track with where I was at that moment, which was not a place I wanted to be.
So at that time, what were some of your assumptions about making money through music or as a music producer?
I knew that it's possible. Obviously, there's so many things. There's Splice, BeatStars that I was aware of. Like I saw your video, for example, before I met you about how much you made on BeatStars selling beats. I was like, okay, there's money to be made here and you can have an impact. But I felt like there was a skill set required for that I just didn't have. And I wasn't even aware of what that skill set was.
Yeah, so once I understood Kroniak's situation, the first thing I wanted to do, like completely overhaul your strategy. Everything you were doing, I was like, throw it out the window.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter. We have to do something that's scalable. We actually tried a handful of things, which I want to be like transparent about this because it doesn't work right away always. And I think that just goes to show, one, it's difficult. Two, it's always trial and error. Like even people who like quote unquote have it figured out, they're really just testing. It took us 2 months to figure out what was like right for you with like your skill set and what your interest is and what there is a market for. Like check all 3 of those boxes. It wasn't just like you did whatever you were doing previously. I was like, oh yeah, just package it up as a sample pack. There was so many things that you need to take care of like your whole approach to making stuff with a purpose to serve others. You definitely had to make some adjustments. We're talking about samples here, but it also applies to beats, any production. Like I've done beats, I've done samples, I've done both. The same principles apply.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was one thing you helped me shift my perspective on is what do other people want to use? How am I going to add value to them? So part of that was simplifying the samples. They were kind of complicated, a little too busy.
Which is a problem because why?
There's just no room for them to create anything with it. It's almost like it's a finished product.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think of like the whole way it works. If you're making samples, you're making for a producer to flip to have an artist rap on. So you need to check all the boxes for the producer as the sample maker, and you need to check all the boxes for the artist. So, I mean, if you're making it too busy, you're not considering the producer, who a good producer should be considering the artist, which translates to more money.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I feel like people just say that advice. That advice leads to more dollars in your pocket.
Yeah, because if someone just says make your stuff simpler, to me, that would have turned me off back then. But it was different when you said it because you kind of took the time to explain it and you're like, well, why are we making it simpler? So we can serve, the whole chain.
And then, yeah, and you made your first sale for like $60 2 months in, which is amazing because I think people downplay how big of a deal your first sale is. Like try to go get $60 from someone. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Like people work hard for their money. So the fact that like one person was willing to give you $60, to me, I'm like, okay, cool. I think we found something.
It was a big deal to me because at the time I was breeding dogs with my girlfriend. And I remember checking my phone, like I heard the ching noise from PayPal. And I was like, what's that? And I checked my phone and it was like $59.99. I was like, did I owe somebody money? That was the first time. No, sure enough, I checked my email. Like I got my first Shopify sale thing and I was like, wow, this feels great. It was surreal.
How'd that feel compared to making money doing a mixing client?
I made money, but I wasn't working in that moment. So I was eating lunch and I got money and I was like, this is crazy. I'm not actually like doing something. And I had more fun making that sample pack than I usually do mixing.
As soon as you get that, you're like, damn, there's no other way I want to make money. How did that customer find you?
I made a YouTube video and I had an Instagram post, which I was running ads on. The person that bought it from me was not someone I know personally. So it had to be through one of those 2 ways, YouTube or Instagram.
Yeah, our goal is $2,500 a month. You made your first sale at 60, which was proof of concept. So then we're like, okay, let's double down on the sample pack. Then yeah, what did we do after that?
it's not a perfect journey of everything gets better and I make more money all the time, because that's not what happened actually. I was working on a second pack at the time. I was trying to one up myself, which I think is important. Always strive to do a better product than the last one. So I was like, let me pick up my trumpet and start recording some brass stuff, because I'm not hearing a whole bunch of these sample packs have like live horns in them. Really fixated on that, thinking that was going to carry my pack and be like the coolest thing ever. It didn't perform well, didn't sell well. I think it's probably the worst performing pack on my store.
I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh, I tried to do this and it failed. This doesn't work. You do an awesome job of not pointing the finger at anything else, just being like, I missed the mark somehow. I don't know how I missed the mark, but somehow I missed the mark.
Yeah.
Now you just move on to your next one. Like, you don't take it too personal. That just is the game. And that's what everyone's doing, even at the highest level.
Then I decided to pivot genres and do like a West Coast R&B type of pack. And I did it, and it didn't do particularly well either.
Like, there's a reason it didn't do well. Like, it wasn't random.
At the time it felt random, but yeah, now it doesn't. And what that was, I asked you to critique my stuff because I was like, I'm at a loss here. I thought the last 2 packs I just dropped were pretty good. You were like, it's the vocals. You're like, they don't have hooks in them. And the specificity, I think, is something to bring up, because I was so close. I can still really like them in the context I think they're supposed to be in. It's just that one element wasn't right. And that was enough to kind of not completely make it a flop, but yeah, it really hindered it from like the last pack I dropped that did have the right kind of vocals specifically for a sample pack. And it's such a specific thing you got to really nail down.
Yeah, it's just like context is so important. Who you're serving, when you're serving, in what context are you serving them. Those 2 packs, they flopped. Yeah, you were earning some money. It was like what, $600, $700 a month at that point?
Probably like 5 or 6.
Which is actually a huge leap, because we were going for $2,500. So that was a step in the right direction. And that's way more proof of concept. You see all these YouTube videos of people being like, oh yeah, like all of a sudden, and I've done these YouTube videos where it's like,
I've watched these YouTube videos and enjoyed them.
People only remember the parts. I went from 1,800 this month to 3,000 this month to 4,000 this month to 8,000 to 16,000 to 30,000, whatever. But there's like a 6-month period where it's like $700 to $800, and like to 800 to 850, then back to 400.
Yeah, that's the big one right there. I think that doesn't get talked enough about, which I experienced firsthand.
100%. And like in that growth period, like if you zoom out on the trend of someone who sticks with it with the right mindset of like, I'm trying, I'm testing, I definitely want to succeed. Failure is bad, but I realize it's going to be part of it. I'm going to have some missteps here and there. It's like up and down, but then you zoom out, it's just generally, you might go through a 3-month like cold streak.
I did.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it's not working. It's just like you had all the best intentions in the world, but you didn't understand the customer well enough yet. And you only get that through like the trial and error and the intent to learn the customer.
Yeah. I mean, you got to start from there though. Like that's the bare minimum, is like wanting to actually serve the customer. Because if you don't want it, then you're not going to do a good job of it.
Then what happened next? I'm even a little confused on what happened next. From my perspective, you quit.
Yeah.
So like, do you want to elaborate on what was going on there?
I think I felt some pressure because the samples were a level up. So I was like, I really want the pack to do well. And so I started kind of overanalyzing what it meant to do well. For the artwork, you got me in touch with an artist. I was overanalyzing what the artwork should have been and took too long to really make any decisions on that. And I didn't drop it for 3 months.
Yeah, and I remember, so like, I was checking in on you because I'm coaching him, and Kroniak's just like not dropping. I'm like, why? Ask a few times. It's not coming out. And then I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are we not dropping? Like, how on earth are you supposed to continue to do this? I start being very direct of like, this is not sustainable. There is absolutely no way that at this pace you're going to be able to make a living off this. It's just not enough output, even if you are doing the right things. I remember, we had some tough conversations where I'm like, well, I might lose him here. Like, could be it for a Kroniak. Yeah, maybe some people can't. Maybe some people, they have like mental barriers that they just are not going to get past. Some people are built for it, some people are not, but I did not want to believe that. I definitely want to believe that like time, effort, practice, the right strategy, right mindset, you can get through it.
That was the turning point. With those conversations we had, I could have either crumbled up and disappeared or I could do something with it. And I think luckily I did agree with you. So I appreciate that you were able to point that out. I think that is the most insidious part about being being a perfectionist is you don't know that it's destructive. You may not even know that you're in that state.
Even worse, you think it's positive.
Oh yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah, which is typically the case. Every single time, those most painful periods are where the most growth happens. Yeah, if you make it through those moments without like a loss of enthusiasm and you're like, hey, I'm still gonna figure this out. I'm still trying to serve my customers. After all that, then good things happen. That's where most people fall off. And it's like the emotional difficulty more so than the skill thing, which is why there's so many skilled people that are unable to make a living, because entrepreneurial side of it is more emotionally difficult than learning the skills of it, because you're dealing with people as opposed to like an instrument.
Yeah.
It's like not going to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, you can remove your self-worth from the DAW, from the instrument. You can be like, okay, I'm probably going to stop, at least to start. But for whatever reason with entrepreneurship, it's a little different. It's like, it's more a part of your identity.
It's not an intelligence thing, and it's not a skill thing.
Like emotional resilience. I don't know. They need to make like a term or something.
I think that's awesome. I think that is one perfect phrasing for it. Where do we go from here? You drop the pack. Did that one do well?
It did. It did better than the other ones. It was the best-selling pack so far. It's kind of stupid that I held on to it for that long. And
I want to make a point clear. It would have done that well.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel stupid for not having dropped it sooner. Adding value to the community, getting value in return, and moving on to the next thing.
Bingo.
But instead, I wasted 3 months. Thankfully, it still did well.
Yeah, so you started releasing, you started applying everything you've learned from your successes and your failures, but you hit like a plateau of income. And I'm like, I don't think he's doing anything wrong.
It's frustrating to be putting in all this work and time and energy into something and not see it immediately return. Like day one on release, I want to do well. Like it just doesn't happen like that, especially when you're new and you're starting a new business. I'm still within my first year, of which I've wasted a quarter of it on the last story. So I really didn't give it enough time to develop for people to find it, you know, all that stuff. So I was at that plateau.
1,000, 1,200 a month, kind of.
Yeah, I did 3 packs that I thought were all consistently pretty good. I think another significant level up. And then I dropped volume 6, which was that 3rd pack in that streak. It popped off. I don't know what else to say. Like, I guess watching from the outside, people might be like, oh, was it like an ad hack? What did he do? Literally, it was just the YouTube preview, the same as all my other ones. It's just a picture of the cover art with the samples. Now it's, I think, around 10K views. I'm getting these like Shopify payouts. Like now it's every day. I doubled my income.
Yeah, you doubled your income in 1 month.
In 1 month.
By you doing the same amount of work, just doing it better. So how much money will you bring in this month for music?
So we still got some month left, but it's looking like 6 or 7 grand.
Damn.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy.
That is actually amazing. But yeah, that's an incredible transformation. I wanted to test like if my advice was real, if someone applies it. Without a doubt, to me, it proves that it works. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah. I mean, that's life-changing. It didn't need to get even to this number of... Once you can hit your living expenses, like you can really commit to just this one thing. And that was where I really saw the shifts, because I was no longer... Like, we started the interview about the hamster wheel. I'm not on it anymore. Yeah. Like I'm not running in 5 different directions, chasing down what's the next gig, what's the next client, what's the next thing I can do, and to get myself through the month. That's a lot of stress to take on. Enough for me to do things that, you know, for a time, like I said, I was breeding dogs, that had nothing really to do with music, and to go from that to knowing what I'm gonna do and be proud of what I do and stand by it. It goes beyond the business now. Like that's a sense of purpose in my life.
So do you think anyone can become professionally good that is willing to put in the time and effort?
I think so now, which is kind of crazy. I know a year ago I wouldn't have said that. You probably have a message from me that says no. But yeah, I do.
I've always wanted to help producers in the way that I help Chroniac, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could actually do that before I offered a service. Now that I know I can genuinely help people, I'm launching a program where I work one-on-one with producers just like I did Chroniac. I've earned over $1 million selling beats online. I've gotten over 50 million views on my YouTube channel. I've earned over $100,000 through my samples. Have worked with platinum artists like Russ, Rick Ross, and more. I genuinely enjoy helping people, and I don't believe any success that I've had has come from luck or any natural gifts. It's came from making thousands of painful mistakes and learning from them. Through working with Chroniac, I've proven that I can share these lessons to help producers earn a full-time income through music. I've also helped established producers increase their income by thousands of dollars each month. If you're someone who wants to wake up every day and make music and get paid for it, or take your music business to the next level, then check out the link in the description and the pinned comment to learn more. Thanks for watching. Peace.